गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपीजनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रजजनरंजन यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद जय प्रभुपाद निताय गौर हरि बोल गौर हरि बोल जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद हिज डिवाइन ग्रेस एसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय श्रीमद् भागवत महापुराण की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namaha. Panchatattvatmakam Krishnam Bhaktarupasvarupakam Bhaktavataram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhaktashaktikam. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधो दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवास आदि गौरभक्त वृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. We just said the verse. Nava idam rajarshivariya chitram. Nava idam rajarshivariya chitram. Nava idam rajarshivariya chitram. Bhavat sukrishnam samunubrateshu. Bhavat sukrishnam samanubrateshu. Ye dhyasanam rajakirita justam. Ye dhyasanam rajakirita justam. Ye dhyasanam rajakirita justam. Sadyo jahur bhagavat parshva kamaha. Sadyo jahur bhagavat parshva kamaha. Sadyo jahur bhagavat parshva kamaha. Rajarshivya chitram bhavat sukrishnam samanubrateshu. Yedyasam rajakirita Sadyo jahur bhagavat parshva kamaha. Nava idam rajarshivariya chitram. Bhavat sukrishnam samanubrateshu. Yedhyasanam rajakirita justam. Sadyo jahur bhagavat parsva kamaha. Nava idam rajarshivariya chitram. Bhavat sukrishnam samanabrateshu. Rajakirita justam. Sadyo jahur bhagavat parshva kamaha. Na, neither. Va, like this. Idam, this. Rajarshi, saintly king. Varya, the chief. Chitram, astonishing. Bhavatsu, unto all of you. Krishnam, Lord Krishna. Samanubrateshu, unto those who are strictly in the line of. Ye, who. Adhyasanam, seated on the throne. Raja Kirita, helmets of kings. Jushtam, decorated. Sadhyaha, immediately. Jahuhu, gave up. Bhagavat, the personality of Godhead. Parshva Kamaha, desiring to achieve association. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. The sages said, O chief of all the saintly kings of the Pandu dynasty, who are strictly in the line of Lord Shri Krishna, it is not at all astonishing that you give up your throne, which is decorated with the helmets of many kings, to achieve eternal association with the personality of Godhead. Purport. Foolish politicians who hold political administrative posts think that the temporary posts they occupy are the highest material gain of life, and therefore they stick to those posts even up to the last moment of life, without knowing that achievement of liberation as one of the associates of the Lord in his eternal abode is the highest gain of life. The human life is meant for achieving this end. The Lord has assured us in the Bhagavad Gita many times that going back to Godhead, his eternal abode, is the highest achievement. Prahlad Maharaj, while praying to Lord Nrsimha, said, O my Lord, I am very much afraid of the materialistic way of life, and I am not the least afraid of your present ghastly, ferocious feature as Nrsimhadeva. This materialistic way of life is something like a grinding stone, and we are being crushed by it. We have fallen into this horrible whirlpool of the tossing waves of life, and thus, my Lord, I pray at your lotus feet to call me back to your eternal abode as one of your servitors. This is the summit liberation of this materialistic way of life. I have very bitter experience of the materialistic way of life. I have very bitter experience of the materialistic way of life. In whichever species of life I have taken birth, compelled by the force of my own activities, I have very painfully experienced two things, namely separation from my beloved and meeting with what is not wanted. And to counteract them, the remedies which I undertook were more dangerous than the disease itself. So I drift from one point to another, birth after birth, and I pray to you, therefore, to give me a shelter at your lotus feet. The Pandava kings, who are more than many saints of the world, knew the bitter results of the materialistic way of life. They were never captivated by the glare of the imperial throne they occupied, and they sought always the opportunity of being called by the Lord to associate with him eternally. Maharaj Parikshit was the worthy grandson of Maharaj Yudhishthir. Maharaj Yudhishthir gave up the imperial throne to his grandson, and similarly, Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of Maharaj Yudhishthir, gave up the imperial throne to his son Janamejaya. That is the way of all the kings in the dynasty, because they are all strictly in the line of Lord Krishna. Thus, the devotees of the Lord are never enchanted by the glare of materialistic life, and they live impartially, unattached to the objects of the false, illusory, materialistic way of life. So I did the prayers before the purport. I was thinking something I'm missing. Anyway, Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtahaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. So this is the last chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled The Appearance of Shukadeva Goswami. The context here is that Maharaj Parikshit, after having known that he has been cursed by Shringi, the son of Shamik Rishi, he gives up his royal kingdom. He delegates his duties to his son Janamejaya, and he comes to the bank of Ganges, Ganga, to fast unto death. After knowing that Maharaj Parikshit has come, all the sages and saintly people from all over the universe, they also come, the description of which has been given in the previous verses. And after coming there, they actually congratulate. Before they congratulate, Maharaj Parikshit offers his obeisances and informs them of his decision to fast unto death. Then, after hearing that, they congratulate Parikshit, and they are just going to speak. The today's verse is their first statement, what they have spoken. So they say that it is not very astonishing that you have taken this decision, because you are strictly in the line of Lord Krishna. And why it is something to be worth of astonishment? He says that Raja Kirita Jushtam, your Adhyasanam, your throne was the place where all the emperors of the world, all the kings of the world, they offered their obeisances, which means he was a Samrat, emperor. But even though you had such a great respect and following, still you have given it up. And that is not so astonishing, because you are coming in the line of the Pandavas. So you value the eternal association of Krishna more than all the worldly adoration and pleasures and all that. That is their first statement. So Prabhupada, as usual, in this very expert way, nicely organizes the purport in a very systematic manner. Firstly, he says that how the politicians, because here the person in discussion is Parikshit, who was a politician, king. So he then compares Maharaj Parikshit and the Rajarishis with the modern day politicians. So he says that how politicians and others, they think that to occupy some post is the highest material gain. And they stick up to this post even till the time of death, without knowing that this is something very temporary, something very tucham, insignificant, and without knowing what is to be achieved. What is that? To achieve the liberation as one of the associates of the Lord, which means to eternally serve the Lord in the spiritual world. Without knowing that as the highest goal of human life, they are very happy and they are aspiring and working hard. They are very attached to the temporary posts. So that he tells first. Then he tells that how Lord himself has told in the Gita about what should be one's true north. What should be one's guiding principle, what should be the ultimate goal of life. And then he quotes Prahlad Maharaj from his prayers, how Prahlad Maharaj says to Narsimha, prays to him, that about his fear of the material world, and how it is more ghastly than the ghastly form of the Lord. You know, the form of the Lord was so ghastly that nobody was willing to go near, including Lakshmi Devi, who is the eternal consort of the Lord. But Prahlad Maharaj says the material world is even more fearful than your fearful form. Like that. And Prahlad Maharaj also says that the summit liberation of the Metallistic way of life is to again become your eternal servitor in your abode. And he also gives some explanation why the Metallistic way of life is so painful and so horrible. So as anyone or any normal person, anyone wants to experience more pleasurable situations and avoid sorrowful situations. Is it the right word? Sorrowful situations. Right? But the problem is the opposite happens. What happens? Separation from my beloved, which means separation or non-occurrence of pleasurable situations and repeated occurrence of sorrowful situations. That's what Prahlad Maharaj is telling. And to counteract them, the remedies which are taken, that increases the problem more than the original problem. And in this way, one gets bound and goes birth after birth. Therefore, I want a permanent solution now, and I want to take shelter. So that is almost the second part of the purport. Prabhupada paraphrasing Prahlad Maharaj's prayers in a very succinct way. And the third part of the purport is how the ancestors of Parikshit Maharaj, the Pandavas, they set the standard. They have set the bar for him to follow. So they were not at all captivated by the imperial throne they occupied. Rather, they always sought the opportunity of being called by the Lord to associate with him eternally. Following in their footsteps, their grandson, who is Parikshit, also did the same thing. When the right time came, I think it was 13th chapter, Pandavas retired timely, isn't it? 14th chapter. 15th, huh? Yeah, 15th chapter. So here, this is 19th chapter. So in the first canto itself, we have seen that episode of how Pandavas left everything, just like that, and started to leave for their liberation, path of liberation. In the same way, Parikshit also left everything, and he has come to the bank of Ganga to fast. And then the summary of the whole purport is, thus the devotees of the Lord are never enchanted by the glare of materialistic life. So he has given already examples of three devotees, the Prahlad Maharaj, Pandavas, and Parikshit. And he generalizes, the devotees are not enchanted by the glare of materialistic life. Rather, and they live impartially, unattached to the objects of the false, illusory, materialistic way of life. So in a nice way, he completes the purport. So the point here mainly is the troublesome situation which the material world poses, and what should be one's response to it, as seen by the examples of the great saintly kings, and here especially Maharaj Parikshit. If one doesn't have a knowledge or understanding of what should be one's goal of life, then by default they will fall into the material whirlpool. There cannot be any other option. So the first thing is, of course, before that which precedes even having the knowledge, is the association of devotees. Because through the devotees we get the knowledge, isn't it? Anybody who has come into the path of bhakti, we see that they have come through the association of devotees, isn't it? If we see Mrigari was a hunter. He was killing the animals half dead. And whose association he got? Shashi? You have not heard of Mrigari? Mrigari got the association of Narada Muni. And then he gave up hunting. He was thinking that this will help me to maintain my family. And Narada Muni told, you will get more sin by doing this. So he left that hunting and he became a saintly person. And then we also see the example of King Prachina Barhi, who was attached to performing the ritualistic performances given in the Vedic literatures. And by the association of Narada Muni, he gave up that and he took up to the path of bhakti. Then the Chatush Kumaras and Shukadev Goswami, who are going on the path of Jnana Marga, impersonalism. So they also, by the association of Shukadev Goswami, by the association of Vyasadeva and hearing from about Bhagavatam, about Krishna from Bhagavatam, similarly, the Chatush Kumaras, by smelling the Tulasi leaves, they also got attracted to the Bhakti Marga and they became devotees. And then the Ashtanga Yoga, who came from Ashtanga Yoga to the Bhakti Yoga? Vishwamitra Muni? I don't know. Correct, huh? Narada Muni also? Dhruva Maharaj. Yeah, of course he got the association before, no? They were following Ashtanga Yoga and they came to Bhakti Yoga. Durvasa Muni is there, example? Vatila. Like that. So from different cadres, people come into the path of bhakti. We ourselves, we have come into the path of bhakti due to the association of some devotee, isn't it? Even before we got the knowledge, those who have come from book distribution, they have got the book of Prabhupada. So Prabhupada's association is there. And the devotee who gave the book, his association is there. Those who have come through campus preaching, they have come through some devotees classes or something. Like that. Those who have come through the temple, obviously temple is a place of devotees. So in this way, association of devotees predates everything. That's the first step into the journey of transcendence. But those who are not fortunate, those who have not shown interest to devotional service, they will be obviously attached to the materialistic way of life. Just recently, our Queen Elizabeth, she passed away. It exactly fits because she was also on the throne, actually. Even though that throne has no powers, nobody will come and fall at her feet. It is just a formal throne. But still, till the point she died, she was the queen. She never told, let my grandsons take it. That she didn't tell that. And now her son has become the king, Charles II, isn't it? And he is also not a young man. He is above 60. She was some 96 or something. And Charles is around 65 or something. He's also awaiting death, imminent death. And then, even though that throne has no powers, absolutely, it is just a formality. They just want to maintain the tradition. But still, it comes with some perks. Perks means, privileges. Yeah. There are, they can go anywhere. Their maintenance is taken care of. So many things are there. And they can live in a very royal atmosphere. So much luxury. And they have the stolen ornaments and so many things from India which was stolen and smuggled, legally smuggled into British lands. That also they have, and they keep seeing that. And they think I am the owner of these things, which I have by force brought from India. But what to do? They have to leave the body. And after leaving the body, they have to take up another body. And we don't know Queen Elizabeth, what she has got next life. We cannot say. It depends on what was her karma and what was her desires, at that point of death. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam tisitante kalevaram tam tam eveti kaunteya sadatat bhava bhavitaha. But one fortunate thing happened, that she got the Bhagavad Gita of Srila Prabhupada, and she met devotees, and she had some appreciation for some devotees. So that is definitely a positive aspect which will carry on in her antakarana. The impressions will be there. But most of them are otherwise, actually. And neither they have Association of Devotees, neither they have any appreciation for devotional service. They just die just like that. And Prahlad Maharaj, he says his personal experience, that how the materialistic way of life is like a grinding stone. What does it do? It just crushes everyone under its influence. So what is the influence? How does the material nature influence us? Through the agency of time, isn't it? Because time has the quality of destruction. So as time progresses, our body and our senses, everything becomes weaker and weaker and weaker. If you have used a grinding stone, how many of you have experience of using a grinding stone, mechanical grinding stone? Yeah. So, if somebody is grinding urad dal for idli dosa and rice, or if you have this, is called amikal. In Kannada, what do you say? This horizontal stone. Huh? Isokal. Rupa Gunda. For making chutney and leaves crush ಮಾಡ್ತಾರಲ್ಲ, ಎಲೆ crush ಮಾಡ್ತಾರೆ. So we can see graphically, actually. Those days, see the example given by Prahlad Maharaj, which means grinding stone was there, no, at that time in Satya Yuga, isn't it? So the way of life itself teaches many examples, many lessons. So he says that just like a grinding stone grinds, you see the first iteration of this rotating mortar. Immediately we can see the urad dal getting split. First it gets split into two. That round urad dal full, it gets split. The next iteration, it becomes smashed and it sticks to the pit, the stone pit. And then if you put more and more water and keep on grinding, it becomes beyond recognition. White color. Earlier it was in yellow color, or if it is skin with skin, it is like blackish. Black is the skin color. But as the grinding process happens, it becomes completely liquefied somewhat, and it loses its texture and all that. It becomes very different, which means it has lost its existence. Actually, it has transformed into something else. So in that way, when the materialistic way of life grinds a person, then naturally he will be crushed under it. So while crushing, what happens? If suppose a grinding mortar falls on our leg, our bone will get crushed. It is so heavy. So while the mortar falls on that stone, it falls on our leg. How do we feel? Very painful, isn't it? Extreme pain. So in that way, the pain of the materialistic way of life is very extreme, and the pleasure which is obtained is very, very temporary. In the purport to this verse of Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto, Prabhupada says that there is some pleasure while engaging the senses with the sense objects. There is some pleasure, but that pleasure is very, very temporary. And for getting that pleasure, one has to really work very hard. So the amount of hard work, it should equate to the amount of pleasure, no? Isn't it? Suppose you are investing in some mutual fund, your accounts department, no? So if you invest, say 100 rupees, at least you will want back how many rupees? If it is 8% interest, 8 or 9%. 10 rupees, 9 rupees will come back after 1 year, isn't it? Suppose you invest 100 rupees and you get 1 paisa. Is it a good investment? Yes? No, no. You will not put the money. Yeah. Isn't it? So naturally one will compare which will is giving me better gains, which is not giving me better gains before investing. That is intelligence, isn't it? Because this is devotees Lakshmi, it is meant for the service of the Lord. Huh? So naturally, we have to be very careful, very, very careful, more than the people outside use their money, invest their money. But if the returns is very, very less, then there is no point in investing actually. Better to keep it in our locker only, isn't it? If you get 1 paisa in 1 year, there is no point in investing, isn't it? And that 1 paisa is not valid also. Nowadays, there is no 1 paisa coin, first of all. It is only existing in the account. In the same way, if the materialistic way of life is going to yield such minuscule happiness, then what is the point in doing it? Better to give it up. And the soul cannot remain without activity, isn't it? Nahi kaschit kshanamapi jatu tishtyat akarma krita. So the soul cannot remain without activity. The soul needs some activity. So in pursuit of happiness without knowledge, a soul engages in material activities thinking that it will give happiness. And actually some experience of happiness is there, but that is very, very temporary. So the other path is, while engaging one's service engaging one's senses in the service of the Supreme Lord, the happiness which is obtained is a lot. The efforts which are put is minimum, but the returns are maximum. I was just I just finished one JSD course, and our Bhagavad Prabhu had made such nice slides. So in that, when the slide of Bhakti Yoga comes, he has put nice pictures in that. First of all, there is no time investment is very less. And then he has put an elevator, which shows that with minimum effort, one can reach the highest goal. And then there is no previous qualification required also. So Bhakti Yoga is so easy. Engaging in the process of devotional service, Namavida Bhakti, is so easy that with minimum efforts and with lot of grace is always there actually, because Krishna himself, he wants as much as people to come back. We see that the amount of happiness which is received is immense. So that is also something which we can see practically. We can experiment this, because Bhakti Yoga is a science, no? So we should be able to experiment it. So just to try, I have tried this. I have gone through that experience and I have come out to the results. So of course, many of us also have that experience. But for those who don't have that experience, just do this experiment. Try to chant alone and try to chant in the devotees association. Try not to chant. Yeah, it is worth experimenting. Just give up chanting for 1 month and try. It's very, very difficult to go on with life. Then we will realize how I have been in this situation for so many years before coming to Bhakti. Out of ignorance, I have wasted so much life, so much of my lifetime without engaging in devotion service. Our Mahatma Prabhu in his Japa session says, can anybody say that, I can, I will not chant today? He starts like that, his Japa sessions. Then the audience become very silent. Then he says, actually, we cannot give up chanting. If we give up chanting, then we cannot do anything else. We cannot do that actually. We cannot even think of giving up chanting actually. So the point is, and as a sadhaka, what will be the quality of chanting? As a beginning Kanishta, or even Madhyama Adhikari, the quality of chanting is not very great. Chanting done as a duty, or chanting uh, with lot of struggle, with lot of distractions of the mind. Even that quality of chanting is yielding very good benefits, isn't it? Yes or no? So if we chant with attention, with the good attitude, with good feelings, with a devotional mood, then that will lead to even more benefits. That's why the Acharyas say that in front of Brahmananda, Bhavananda is like a droplet. In front of Premananda, Brahmananda itself is a droplet. So bhakti, especially the Raga Marg, which is given by the Gaudiya Acharyas, which we have been very fortunate to have received from Srila Prabhupada. It has been described that this is the highest which one can get. The spontaneous attraction for the service of Krishna, Vrindavan Krishna. So I was hearing from Bhanu Maharaj, he told that bhakti in itself is complete, which means a bhakta, whatever situation he is in, he will feel complete reciprocation from the Lord and he will feel completely satisfied. But still there are gradations in that. So that gradation is for our knowledge and to have the right aspiration as followers of Gaudiya Sampradaya. It is not meant for comparing with others. But he said that even amongst different gradations of the Bhakti Marg, those who are directly associating with the Lord, the Madhurya is the highest. And in Madhurya Rasa, the spontaneous attraction for the Lord, that is called Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti. That is the highest. Raga Marg. So he said, actually, how fortunate we are that we have got this by Srila Prabhupada and we have just got it just like that. I remember I was just a normal student in the hostel. And one devotee, Premananda Prabhu, he is now in Pune. He just came to my room and told that this sessions are going on. Why don't you come? And I had seen the posters already in the notice board. Yeah, campus. But somehow I had forgotten. So it seems, very, very simplistic, the way we have been brought into bhakti. When I think about it, I feel, just he called and I went. That's all. I have not put any endeavor. I have not paid a huge price. Nothing. I just walked around the campus and went to the seminar hall. That's all. But the result which I have got is immense. The Association of Devotees, the association of so many great saintly personalities, the books of Prabhupada, and the books are not just books. It is decorated with so much, literary, and anybody can get what they want from the book. Those who are Sanskrit scholars, they can see, Sanskrit word by word meaning. They can learn. Those who are, connoisseurs of English, they will be feel so nice about reading Prabhupada's books, his English, and just even if you leave other things, Bhagavatam itself is so attractive and so nice. The way the progression of Bhagavatam, and the way things are connected, and the way the different storylines go on. It is like some what do you say? The modern cinema is nothing in front of the storyline and what they call as there is a term, screenplay. Isn't it screenplay? How screenplay of Bhagavatam goes. It is so nice actually. Just reading the translation and following the verse of the Bhagavatam itself is such a great pleasure actually. So much so that Sri Sri Radha Neelamadhav ki jai. So much so that Gadadhar Pandit and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they used to read and recite Dhruva Charitra and Prahlad Charitra 108 times. and with tears, the ink of the book got smudged with so much ecstasy they were reading. So what to speak of us? So one devotee came to our Jayapataka Swami Maharaj, and he said that I'm Pujari, and I'm feeling complete satisfaction in just serving the deities. I feel now I don't need to read the books. Then Jayapataka Maharaj told, Gadadhar Pandit also was a Pujari in Tota Gopinath. But he read with so much ecstasy, Bhagavatam. So if a person of Gadadhar Pandit's caliber, he's Srimati Radharani, he reads Bhagavatam. Why don't you read? Like that he said in reply. In fact, one very nice thing, very inspiring thing about Jayapatak Swami Maharaj is that he is now undergoing Bhakti Vaibhav. Have you heard about it? Second canto. He is now writing exams, and he's inspiring his disciples. They have some communication channels. So because I am in Chennai, I get these news very often. So he's inspiring his disciples to read and write exams and become more, more submerged in the Bhaktivedanta purports and what Prabhupada has given. Because if the books are neglected, then this, what do you say, the ringing of the bells, it will become a ritual. That's all. And then one will just, like Prabhupada once said, if you don't read, you will start to think why my spiritual master has given such a heavy burden on my head to maintain the deities. It will become like that. He said, it will not be a Vigraha, Galagraha. Yeah. What does Galagraha mean? Neck. Oh, okay. It will become a burden for them. It will pain in the neck. Yeah. Yeah. They have to bend down, no? Huh? Yeah, on the neck. Yeah. Correct. So therefore, the way of counteracting the materialistic way of life is first knowledge. That's why in the Bhagavad Gita also, I don't remember the verse, but the translation is somewhat like this, that with the sword of knowledge, we have to cut ignorance. In 2-3 places it comes. Jnana, asina, something it comes. So therefore, one has to be very grounded in the books. Even if one feels not having a lot of taste for reading and understanding and all that, still one can associate with those devotees who have the taste. And just by hearing from them, they can get the benefit. Because if one reads and when the devotees explain, then their understanding, they are explaining, isn't it? So one will get the benefit of reading also by hearing. And because it is also coming with the realization, it is not just a theoretical repetition. It comes in the realization. Therefore, it has it is more relishable. Just like how Shukadev Goswami heard from Vyasadeva, but with his own realizations, the Bhagavatam became more relishable. In that way, when devotees come together and discuss Krishna Katha, it can be the words of Krishna or it can be the words about Krishna. Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and the words of the Acharyas who have given their realizations. That actually relishes the devotee and it gives some spice in their bhakti, and that is very, very important. Machchitta madgata prana bodhayanta parasparam katayantascha mam nityam tushyanticha ramanticha. So one will become completely satisfied and one will enjoy or relish that kind of a association. So if that happens, then the materialistic way of life cannot harm, or it cannot attract a devotee, and one will never become enchanted by the glare of materialistic life, and they will live impartially, unattached to the objects of the false, illusory, materialistic way of life. So when we read, we will understand that this materialistic way of life is false, it is illusory, and it will not give pleasure. The real pleasure is in serving Krishna, his chanting his holy names, serving the deities, honoring prasad, associating with devotees, then going to the places of pastime, places of pilgrimage. This becomes the focus. So when we prioritize this, Nama Sankirtan, Bhagavata Shravan, Mathuravas, Shri Murtayera, Shraddhaya Sevan. So when these 5 things, Sadhu Sangha, yeah. So when these 5 things become the focus, then naturally our time and energy will go into this. And naturally we will not have time and attraction for engaging in materialistic activities. That's all. When this becomes weak, this will become strong. So it is like that. It's better to remain in this, the Sangha of devotees, and say no to this. For that, one has to prioritize. It all depends on, because everything is a choice. So we have to prioritize. The more we prioritize bhakti, more we will feel the reciprocation coming in return. And that will enthuse us more and more and more. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for your patient, attentive hearing. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Vrajaraja, for such a wonderful class where you had such a wonderful anecdotes and at the same time your personal reflections and also narrations of very various some of the incidents from and quotations from Maharaj. So one thing I just in the class which you were mentioning that actually there is so much of for you are quoting about Mahatma Prabhu's about chanting. So how much a devotee should give importance to chanting, and you also were mentioning about that you experiment in your life about chanting, and at the same time also give up chanting and try. So there will be many other devotees also watching. So in what way do you want us to how should we understand that that statement? I just wanted to understand.
Yeah, at least I can give a brief of the experiments which I performed, and whatever lessons you want to gain, that is up to you. Of course, I will not go into the details, but I try because when we are without association of devotees, the mind takes over naturally, right? And those who are not like myself, those who are not rooted, the mind starts playing games and pushing, pulling, and all that. So I have seen how when of course there were certain incidents which were beyond my control, and due to which I could not prioritize chanting in the beginning of the day. But there have been also incidents where I had the choice to chant, but I thought I will do something else. So I have seen that the days when I did not consciously, I did not prioritize chanting, and I was doing something else, those days, that which I thought is important and which I thought should be done, those did not give any result. Am I clear? I thought something to be important, and I thought this is more important than to chant, because it will take a lot of time to do that, and if I chant now, I will not be able to do it later on, like that kind of situations. So I myself took a conscious decision: better to chant, in a very silent, maybe later part of the day. Better to do the work now. That kind of. So that work will happen somehow, but it will not give the desired result. And then that is one thing. Then another thing is the quality of chanting will be very bad later on. Okay, that is one half of the experiment. The second half of the experiment is when my mind gives us all the options, and I say to the mind, now it is chanting time. Brahma Muhurta means we have to chant, and whether Brahma Muhurta or not, first we have to finish our chanting, at least as much as possible out of 16 rounds. Those days, those things or works which I thought is important, which which is very time consuming and all that, somehow it happened so nicely, and somehow I felt I have seen that I also get the result of that work. What is the intended result? That also comes. So then I somewhat came to the conclusion. I will not say it is realization, but at least I have contemplated and come to the conclusion that actually chanting is the most important activity. If we prioritize something else, even at a mental level, then that something else will also not happen nicely, and our chanting also will not happen nicely. So better to chant during chanting time. And when the mind wanders away, we have to bring back the mind and again focus on the holy name. So the holy name is the important thing. Why holy name is the Kali Yuga Dharma, Nama Sankirtan? Because the name is so powerful. The name was powerful, name will be powerful. But in Kali Yuga, because we are so distracted and we are so much preoccupied with filthy things, therefore the holy name is such an accessible medium through which we can gain the mercy of the Lord. So if we just hear the holy name, then that will have a profound effect in our day. Everything else will be good. One statement of His Holiness Bhakti Rasamrita Swami Maharaj, he says, if you do this one thing right, everything else will be all right. He says that. So the most important thing is chanting. But chanting, I would say chanting should be backed up with Shastric study. That is very, very important. This also I have done experiments. I have done chanting without anything, just chanting. Somehow finish 16 and just throw away the bead bag and and there are other times when I have sat with the book or I have heard some lecture that has a, what do you say? It has a what they say, recursive. You can say recursive effect. Recursive effect, or it has an effect. It will take time to show, but it will have that effect. So the best thing is, according to the experiments which I did and the conclusion which I came up is, better to prioritize the aspects of bhakti over anything else. That will give guaranteed results. That is guarantee of Shastra, guarantee of the sadhus, and all that. It is there. We have that. So that will surely give benefit, no doubt.
Thank you, Braji, for sharing your experimental results.
And I went through the experiments, so I lost time, but you have heard just in 2 minutes.
Yeah. So it is wise to hear and learn rather than experiment and learn. Yeah. For all of us. Thank you.
Because somehow I felt, I should do something and find out myself. But I lost time. That is there. This I already heard from so many classes. I have heard this. But somehow Pratyaksha is most powerful, no? Sometimes. Those who are foolish like me. Hare Krishna. Thank you.